Okay. It's really a pleasure to be here. It looks like you've done a magnificent job on this place, and I wish you the best. And thank you very much, Peter. Um, I have very little to say tonight, so I'll try not to make it too long. Um, there are some things I'd like you to know about the brain, or more, more appropriately, the brain as it stops functioning well and as it starts functioning again. And probably the most misunderstood thing is the word damage. Now, can anybody see that? In the back? No. All right. Some yes, some no. Thank you. Damage. Um, when damage is applied to the brain, as in brain damage, people have the idea of death and dying tissue. Of another phrase that's oftentimes heard is diffuse axonal shearing. And when damage, the word damage in one form or another is raised, thank you, is found, is discovered, is seen on an image, is diagnosed with electrophysiological methods such as QEEGs, that's quantitative EEGs. My impression is that people stop thinking. Oh, brain damage, can't grow new neurons. It's all over. A year after whatever it is happened to you, that's it. You are dead in the water, you're beached, and the tide is out. So you get yourself taken care of because that's as far as you're going to go. My problem is I see too many people who are referred and come in with that as a starting point. It's as if they don't believe what they hear, or they don't want to believe what they're hearing, and they will do anything to fight that kind of state of permanent and stationary, no advancement, that's it. There are people in orbit about the equator who land on offshore islands, to explore various processes, and they will stop at nothing. If their children are involved or if they're involved, they will stop at nothing. And the internet is probably one of the most wonderful things that has come along, because now with Google or Yahoo, they can search the internet and come up with very, very disrespectable alternatives. And there is no one that can control what people find. So it's almost as if the news can get out through channels which previously did not exist. So let's go back to the word damage. The problem is that we see people getting better in spite of damage. Now, I believe that damage can exist. I've known people who have paid out of their pocket to have a coronary artery, a carotid artery opened up, reamed out, and stroked out on a table at Stanford. So much for non-experimental procedures. So much for conventional medicine. And they'll pay out of their pocket, they'll pay $60,000, $70,000 for this kind of stuff. And they will come out of this with a brain that is turned to mush, because the brain is no longer fed by the bloodstream. It doesn't get its food, it doesn't get its oxygen, and it mostly dies. And there's all kinds and gradations of damage. There are people who walk around virtually with nothing inside their skulls. And that's apart from politicians. So, you know, how do we explain what happens when people are walking around without a hemisphere? The brain has been, half the brain has been taken out. How do we explain when people are alive and are functioning with a brain that's the size of a pea? These things happen, and there are no explanations. And there are no explanations for people who have quote-unquote damage and get better. So what is going on here? And I can tell you, I mean, everything I'm going to say, I want you to know, is a lie. Okay? It is completely, well, it's getting more and more substantiated as time goes on. But it's mostly how I've explained these things to myself and generally what I imagine to be. And the interesting thing is these things over time seem to get truer and truer and truer as research tends to support them.